the day. The Gopher women's basketball, well, they begin today in Indianapolis, and they have been doing great. The Gophers have a double bye, so they don't begin until Friday. A fourth seed, they would play either Michigan State, Wisconsin, or Illinois in the third round. Right now, the head coach is holding some availability before the team heads to Indy, so we're going to listen in.
Now we've got a few more days of trying to figure this all out, but the tournament begins today, so it's a lot of fun.
So you'll go and watch the games in person?
No, we won't. No.
When are you going to go then?
We'll go down the day before.
I guess it starts today, doesn't it?
Right,
Day
yeah.
before, okay.
Yep. So tomorrow we'll leave. Tomorrow is Thursday?
Yes.
Is that right?
You've had some good luck in tournaments dating back to South Dakota. I mean, how's this team look coming in at the end of the season?
Well, I think this group is a group that is continuing to develop. I think they continue to look at things and understand things, and say, okay, well, in our ball screen coverage, our post has to come a little higher or drop down a little further. They're a team that kind of understands the game, and they want to keep getting better, and that's something that they're working on right now, and it's a lot of fun to watch them do that.
Dawn, when you first got here, I remember Mara was playing like an international 3-on-3 tournament. Very obviously, she was a rising star. Is that the injuries? How close is she to being kind of where she can be as a talent?
Well, I think Mara's right now kind of on this incline. I think she's playing and getting better all the time. And I think what is hard to put a value on is how important her leadership is on top of all of it. One, she's playing at a really high level, both ends of the court, but her leadership is something that has really been instrumental for us. So I think she's continuing to get better too.
And as far as her shot, how close? Her shot is looking pretty good these days.
Her shot, her scoring around the rim, her strength, her defense, it all looks really good. I think she's playing at a really high level right now.
The way your team's constructed, how much do you think that going into tournament play where you're not just dependent on this player or that player, that really have anybody can go off on you tonight?
Yeah, ideally that it does one of two things for you. It sets you up to succeed because hopefully you can take what the defense is giving you, type of thing. And so they're playing off of this kid, well then she just shoots it, or they're forcing you to throw the ball inside, or we're attacking inside, and so it sets you up to have success against a lot of different styles. The hard part is, with some teams, it's kind of like, well, who will we defer to someone else? And the good news about this team is that hasn't been us. Our team hasn't really deferred to someone else to do a lot of it, and that's really important. Everybody has to have an attack mindset, but then you also have to recognize this time they're helping strong out of that corner. You just make a simple pass and kick to that corner rather than try to dribble through that because there's no place to go, type of thing. And so understanding when to do what is what this team has done a pretty good job of for the most part.
In your previous stops, did you have a best player? Someone who is undoubtedly your best player? It
all depends on the year, but in an ideal world, to have the versatility is something that's really, really valuable to have.
When Mara's full season as a freshman, she did everything. She was a point guard, she was a scorer. And she comes back, I think she was the leading scorer all until this year. Did you sense that it was hard, not hard, but she had to find her spot on a team that you got to know that Grace was a big scorer, Maya starts, is there anything there?
In terms of it
finding a
from
spot
her
with this?
No, she's had a spot and she's done really well with it, and I think she's been aggressive the whole season. I think she is now, understanding. But right now she's making more of those opportunities. But I don't know if her understanding is a lot different. I think she's been aggressive all year long. I think she's played at a really high level. She just is making shots at a higher level, if that makes sense at this point in time. But all the way through, the reason, again, a major reason why our team has had success is because of how she has led us in so many ways, regardless of if she's scoring a lot of points or if she's not our leading scorer. So I just think there's so much value in that. And I think, again, her best days are still coming right now. But did it take her a while to come back? Yeah, it did. It took her a while to come back after missing parts of 2 years. At the same time, I also think she was someone who wasn't trying to come back as the same player. She was trying to come back as a better player. And so now she attacks the rim at a higher level. She rebounds at a really high level, and so she's added parts to her game. And sometimes when you add different parts to your game, some other part isn't quite as, we're not just focused on, is she shooting it well? We're focused on all those other things.
When she was not playing, she was kind of the coach. She was always How much time did you spend just talking to her about basketball, and how much do you think that might have helped this year?
Mara loves talking about basketball, but she analyzes it, she studies it, she watches games, she texts you about what's going on in the game. She is an absolute basketball junkie, so I don't know that we had much to do with that at all. We're just trying to help her learn the game more and understand the game. But boy, I'll tell you what, when we will call it, whether it's a zone offense look, and she's like, okay, you're over there, and she just kind of takes care of it and gets things done because she understands it at a really high level.
When did you notice that she was a leader? When did that become a big part of her persona?
Well, I think because of who she was right from the beginning, she was naturally a leader for us. I think understanding how to really do that and embrace that took some time to figure out. I think the last 2 seasons, she's been a very good leader for us from the bench, right? But this year, I would say right from the beginning on day one back in June is just, you notice that she was a leader who wasn't dependent on how she was playing, if that makes sense. You know, she was someone who was just always saying the right things, doing the right things, whether she was making shots, missing shots, whatever the case was.
She said that quote the other couple games ago too, where she said she would let things affect her, like a missed shot or whatever. Is that just maturity or getting older, being more experienced, and you kind of learn not to let those things drag you down?
Well, I've coached some players who never quite get that, so I'm not sure the maturity automatically does that. I just think it's something that Mara, again, she's a basketball junkie. She wants to be the very best. She wants to continue playing, and she's going to have a chance to do that. I believe that at a very, very high level, you know, provided she stays healthy and all those kind of things. But in order to be your best, you've got to grow your game in every way possible, and that's what she's doing, and she's doing it in leadership as well.
So you guys have done a good job publicly, whether you're ranked, unranked, all that, not really paying attention to it. But to be in that top 16 reveal here, is that something you're mindful of with your players talk to? Is it something, you know, the opportunity that is there for you guys?
Well, I was actually hopeful that they didn't see it right before the game at Illinois, because at that point in time, it's something that, you know, you want to have happen for your program, for your team. Thankfully, they didn't see it, because then that takes away from what your focus was at that point in time. I think for this team at this point in time, the body of work that they've put in is something that it's being recognized at a level where, you know, we're playing in the best conference by the metric system in women's basketball, and you can argue maybe the best conference ever in the history of college women's basketball based upon how many teams are ranked in the top 25 of the net, which used to be they had a different one at the RPI. When you look at teams right now looking at host sites, the Big Ten has the most, and so to be in that, to be able to play in the quarterfinals in the Big Ten tournament is something that this team has worked really, really hard to get to that point. So it's something I think they're aware of. But being aware of it, having that as our goal isn't what our goal is. Playing at a high level and getting better and having fun while we're doing that is what our goal certainly is. And so we focus on the process. Again, transition defense, ball screen coverages, scoring around the rim, passing, taking care of the ball, those type of things. And then just keep building from there and see where it leads.
And you are sure glad that you had the foresight to say, well, just in case, let's clear out Williams Arena for that week.
I did send a thank you to our text to our administration, because, you know, to have the confidence, the belief that our program at some point in time, meaning 1 year from now, be in a spot where maybe we could do that, was something that they had to kind of take a leap of faith on, you know, that our program would be at that level this year. And so very thankful that they did do that. And so, yes, thank you to the people who made that happen.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
It feels like there's a lot of natural leaders
So peek
in that
into it
locker
or
room.
not?
What is the impact of having a strong culture heading into the tournament?
Well, that's a great question, and I think what was really neat, you know, in terms of the comparison from the Michigan State game to the Illinois game, our last 2 games, when you looked at our our bench, when you looked at our timeouts, when you saw those type of things in the Michigan State game, it was uncharacteristic. We weren't really the same for whatever reason. Who knows why? I don't know. Is it senior day? Is it because there was pressure? Is it because whatever? I don't know. We didn't have it. The other team played really well. We couldn't get it that day. But when you look at the leadership in the Illinois game and you go back and you watch the timeouts and you see the players having the communication of what it needed to have happen at that point in time, that's why this team is successful, right? Player-led programs, and which is what we've wanted to be since day one. But the hard part is, how do you lead if you don't really even understand what you're supposed to be leading or what that looks like? And to now have them be the ones to identify it. You can't we want our players to be able to problem solve, right? I think one of the first questions I asked our players when we got to Minnesota was, how many timeless do we get a game as coaches or as a team? They're like, I don't know, 4. We get 4, and you want to save as many of them as you can in women's basketball to advance the ball at the end of the game, or for whatever reason. You're ahead or you're behind, whatever the case is. You want to save as many as possible. So that means there's an awful lot of times during the course of the game that the players have to be able to make adjustments on their own. But they have to know how to be able to do that. They have to understand what that looks like, but they also have to have the confidence of doing that. And we tell them all the time, like, sometimes the spirit is going to move you as a player to go make a play and to go maybe double somebody. That isn't necessarily what's drawn up, but you have to trust your instincts in the game, and then that's great. But the other players have to make reads around you too, and they have to cover up at that point in time because you just left your player to go double somebody else. And so I think this team has learned how to communicate. They've learned how to make adjustments. They've learned how to help each other. And then they've learned if it doesn't work, well, then we better try something else at that point in time because that wasn't working very well. So problem solving is really big in our program, and they're doing that. And I think that's a major part of leading for this team.
Awesome. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Coach.
Don.
Yep. All right, sounds good.
All right, listening into availability from the Gopher women's basketball coach ahead of the team's trip to the Big Ten tourney. They don't play for a couple of more days because of a double bye, which is don't have to tell you, that is a big deal. So they are looking really good heading into the Big Ten tournament and looking really good also heading into March Madness and in the NCAA tournament as well. So Ahmad Hicks is traveling to Indy for this, to cover this.